Hey folks, Jonathan here. Another one of them crazy ideas, but I've got this issue with I get something in my head and I can't seem to get it out of it. So I can't, wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something that I've got in my head planned, and I've just got to I've got to address it somehow. So we're going to do that now, and then we don't have any plans to make this into a big project or nothing. We're just going to mess with this for probably half a day, and then just see what we can get worked out on it, and then we'll come back to it later. It's not a big issue. I just want to see if this is going to work. What I've got here is a 1950 Buick back half. Some of you may have seen this. This was actually picked up for free. This was the back half of a car that somebody cut this off, and then they cut a rough two-door fastback back off of another car, which I've got what's left of it also, and they put it on where this stuff was, because this was a nicer car even though it was a four-door. So they actually built this car into a two-door fastback, and this is leftovers. This was going to go to the junkyard, and so it was, basically just free, come get it. So I went and got it. So it's been sitting down there. I keep driving by it, looking at it, and been sitting down toward the front, and I couldn't seem to get it out of my head. I had this idea, and I don't know how it's going to work out. But the main, well, I understand. You'll understand what I'm talking about here in a minute, about what I'm trying to accomplish today, and to make sure that this is going to go together. So, like I said, 50 Buick, used to be a four-door. We're not worried about anything in here because all this would be eventually cut out. Body-wise, it's fair. It's not bad at all. It's actually pretty good shape. And we've got the roof and the cut-off windshield. So here is my plan. Okay, we've got the 54 Ford cab, missing doors, missing the serial number tag. It's pretty much missing everything, and it's got some rust down on the cab corners. It's actually got some rust and Bondo on both cab corners. They need replaced. Well, something happened and this thing got ran into, and we'll leave it at that. There was nobody in the vehicle that ran into it, so, and like I said, that's what we're going to leave it as. But anyway, so that's not a big issue. That's something you can actually get inside and hammer and dolly. We can get that straight. But my plans are to cut this back of the cab off with the window, which we're missing, but that's okay. We're going to cut this thing through here, and then we're going to cut the front of this off, and we're going to marry them together and make that back of the cab the front of this body. And the plans was, well, in my head, was to actually build a frame and make this a gooseneck style trailer, but I think I'd just do a bumper pull and maybe make this into a camper later on. But my main issue is I keep thinking about this, marrying this thing together, because what we've got, and I'll show you on the truck, it'll be a little easier. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a curve, and we're pretty much straight across. But just like the Buick, in the front we've also got a curve, but we've got a curve this way also. So that's where we're running into the issue. So what we're probably going to have to do, because we're not going to be able to use a compound curve like that, we just need to have the single curve. What we're going to have to do is cut the roof back on the Buick far enough to get it straight. So I think what the plan is, now I've measured from side to side. This is about 61 inches. The Buick's about 61 inches. So we're dealing with pretty much the same width. There's not an issue there. What the plan is probably to cut everything out on the inside and cut it long, and maybe overlap them so I can get a little better idea of what they look like. What I've got also is I've got that parts truck, the International, sitting up at the shop, and I thought maybe it would be a good time to do this, because I can actually sit this up on the back of the frame and sort of use it as a jig, because I can get the torch or the plasma cutter and the welder and everything to that. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to set it up on there, and hopefully the vision in my head you'll be able to see here shortly. and we'll just get that front section on there and probably maybe tack it together, and then maybe get something to tie the floor down low into the back of the cab. Just get it together long enough and good enough to where it'll stay, where I can move it again without any issues. So like I said, you know, this is not something I'm jumping on going to finish. I've got this in my head, and if I don't figure it out, then I'm going to, you know, wonder about it. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever had a song stuck in their head. Well, this is the same way. So let me see what we can get done here. Okay, I've got it up on top of my frame, but the only way to actually get it level is to cut the spare tire carrier out of the car. And of course, it is already rusted anyway, but we're going to finish cutting it out so we can get this thing to sit down. Okay folks, got the back end on, got it blocked to where it's level. It's level with the truck frame, and that was what I was wanting. So now this is going to give us an idea of our height from here down, and then we'll see what we can figure out. I think I'll run down there with the forklift and grab the cab and get up this way with it, and then like I said, we've got to cut this off, take my antenna off there too, but I'm probably going to let the truck overlap this a little bit just to see what it's going to look like. We'll probably just trim these off and then take the antenna off, leave enough to overlap just to see how we're going to mate up. We're trying to make this look right. Not a rat rod job, but an actual, you know, decent fabrication. So we're going to see how it works out. Okay, we've actually got it cut in half now. So we've got the part I want. Do a little cleanup on it, and then we'll get it set up on there. We're going to have to get the windshield post cut off the other car there, and I think we'll clean it up to where we can overlap and try to see if we can make the body lines line up close, and then we'll see what we're going to have to do to work with the rest of it. So, all right, let me get at it. Okay, before I clean this up, I'm going to show you the width. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the outside of the drip rail to the outside of the drip rail. We've got 56 1/4. Okay, that's on the Ford cab, and I think we can do it from here. We'll go from outside of drip rail to outside of drip rail. We've got 56 1/2. So we're only dealing with a 1/4 inch difference in the width. So I think we can work with it. If we can't work with that, then we got a major issue. So just wanted to show you that real quick before I cut into this thing. I think this is going to work out well. And then I'm going to show you sort of how these body lines, you know, we got a bump out here, and then we've got the bump out on the fender on that. It's actually 2 bump outs, but I figured what we would do, we're going to end up building the sides of it. I don't have all 4 doors. I've only got the 2 front doors, so really can't take the sheet metal off of the doors. What we can do is go with some either 1x1 square tube or some round rod between this front section and that back section, and then we'll actually bend the steel, do what we need to do, sheet metal to do the side, and then we're just going to put 1 door on this thing, because you know it is a camper. So anyway, my main thing is to get this on it, get this tacked on, and then get something to tie this rear part to the front part. And it's not good that I got it sitting where I'm sitting now, because it's going to be hard to run anything up through here to the rockers. So we'll have to run something up a little higher, even if it's only temporary, to be able to pick this up and move it. That's some of the things you don't think of before you start, but I could have moved it farther forward on this frame and had room, but I don't know if my welder and stuff would reach out that far. So anyway, it is what it is. Just deal with it as you go. So let me get these cut off, and part of this cut off, and then we're just going to stick it up there, and I'm really kind of excited to see how it overlaps. And boy, I hope for the best. I'm really wanting this to look like it was made that way. So all right, Okay, so here's where we're at this minute in time. It's really looking like them roofs are going to line up really good. Now this is taller, and I knew that, but I wanted to see what I needed to do because I wanted to possibly get these rockers lined up so they're close to being where they would be height-wise. I could probably go down a little bit with the cab, but I think I can do that with the center because it's not fitting over my frame all the way. I can cut up into there. But so I need to shorten it. So if I'm going to shorten this body, I would want to do it where there's the least amount of angle. We're angled here. We're pretty straight right here. So I would want to take it out of the main body right here. Now, there's a few different ways I can do it. I know the rockers, the cab corners are bad, but I still want to keep all this. And I'm figuring that the tongue of the trailer will be coming out if I end up doing this as a bumper pull instead of a gooseneck style. I figured if I done a gooseneck, I've got my 57 International we're getting ready to do a lot of work to, and I could pull it behind it. I can put a gooseneck in it. This is not heavy at all. I can actually pick the back half up, or the back of the cab, and then the other end, I picked up each end of it. So we're not looking at a lot of weight. The frame's going to be light. I've got used stuff that I'm going to build the frame out of. I'm not going to use anything new. We're trying to save money. At this point, we've got $0 in it. And like I said, all this stuff was just going to go to the junkyard anyway. So I like the way our body lines up from here to there. Where it's at now. I just got to make some decisions. I could lower everything down, and then when I've redone these cab corners, do the cab corners higher. And then I could actually bring the frame up into the cab. That would be an idea. That may be the easy way to go because I need to do the cab corners either way. So we may just go ahead and notch in and just lower this down until it fits. I think, if we cut it and shorten it, we're going to be creating more work for ourselves. When it comes to body work. This has got to be done anyway. Holes got to be covered. The cab corner's got to be done. So there's no reason why we shouldn't just go ahead and lower this down, and then, since it's got to be redone anyway, when we do it, bring it up. Looks like we're probably going to have to bring it up about 5 or 6 inches. So, and I may look and see what I've got to make some cab corners with. I don't have a English wheel. Charlie's got one around the corner I can go use anytime I want. I need to go ahead and get me another one, but anyway, I'm going to figure that out, and I'll show you when I get figured out. Just like I said, don't know what's best. If I do it this way, then I will probably go ahead and drop this down as far as I can drop it inside the frame, and then raise our body of our car up to meet. That way we can start, at least try to tie this together. And, I'm trying to, hopefully it looks like it's going to be plenty of room for 2 people to lay down and sleep, because this floor is going to be completely flat. There will be no hump, anything like that in it. And then the trunk, of course, you open up and we'll have whatever we will, want to have in there. So, all right, let me keep at this and see if we can get something tacked together here. We've got a few more hours that we're going to spend on this, and then of course we're gonna stop this job. We just want to try to get it together where I can keep thinking about it. Maybe the parts so far of this matching up will get out of my head anyway. All right, looking and thinking a little bit about this. Height would be nice inside this thing. So I think what we can do, there's not much right here. It wouldn't take much to extend this down to wherever that ends up. And that would give us more height inside. And we're going to run our wheel and tire and our axle in the original spot. So there's not much here to work with. It's got to all be worked anyway, so that might be the answer for that problem. and we'll just make it, you know, entirely taller, and that'll give us more room inside, more height. So I think that's going to be the best bet. So I think what we're going to do is get that back of the cab down as low as we, you know, level and low with the frame, and then we'll bring the body up to it and try to get it to fit together at the top. And once we get that fit together, then we'll run some pieces between it to tie it together, and then probably run one up from the piece to the center here, and maybe that'll keep us from flexing and moving around. So that's our plan. Okay, here's where we're at. I don't think I could have asked for two pieces of body to line up any nicer than that. I mean, that's so close. If this would have been a 1/4 inch wider, I could have brought this down a little bit more. We're a little bit high on our drip edge. My plans was to cut the drip edge off anyway, eventually, but you know, like I said, I'm not doing this project now. It's going to be later. So plans may change. I may end up doing something a little different. Got this one pulled down a little bit tighter because I put the vice grips on this end, but it's level. It's where it needs to be. Our distance between here and the body on each side is exactly the same. We got the height exactly the same from one side to the other on front and back of the body. I'll show you on the other side. If I want to try, when I do the side sheet metal work, to get it to line up right, of course I'm going to have to lower this rocker, which is fine. I have no problem with that. Lower the rocker and bring it up even with that one. And that'll actually, I mean, it's a camper anyway, so that'll actually make it look a little better to me. And then we'll tuck the axle up under, and that'll make it look that much lower even if we don't lower it, you know, real far. So you know, the plans really was to butt these up, and what I can do is go through with a cutoff saw and cut it, and then weld the gap up. But the darn thing went together so well. I'm gonna get the ladder here. If I welded it just like it is, cleaned it up and welded it, you know, we're looking at minor body work really to get it right. So we may end up just welding it, clean it up good and weld it. So probably should have started cleaning it up before I put it together, but I was just trying to, you know, like I said, get the song out of my head. This really amazing how well it worked out. I mean, the roofs look exactly the same, so it gives it a good curve. So when it's done, you know, it would be hard to tell that it wasn't that way forever. Of course, everybody will know, but you know, that's all right. You know, another good thing is I found a piece I can use to make my visor for my 57 International. The front of that roof off the Buick will be perfect for that. That'll be another project later. Alright folks, I'm done with all I'm going to do for now on this thing. Got it braced in between, and it really lined up real well. I'm really impressed with that. And you know, minimal body work, that could be looking really good. So anyway, that's what we ended up with. And as you can see, the rocker here, or the cab corner here, is much lower than where the rocker is. But like I said, I'll end up extending that down and then bringing it straight. And when we put our axle under it, which will probably be like a, well, either a camper axle or maybe one out of a minivan or something, I don't know. Depends on how heavy we end up making this thing. You know, might need something with electric brakes, who knows. But we'll lower that down, and it'll actually look pretty good. Because, you know, this is not supposed to look like a 53 or a 50 model Buick anyway. It's going to look like a camper made out of a Buick. So we don't need to keep anything that original. And I've got to decide on whether to cut the drip edges off, just bring the smooth piece of steel right up to it. Now the plans are in my head anyway to do this in the actual sides of this in about 3 pieces, and try to keep with the body line. This one will come forward and curve down a little bit and then come right into where it's humped out here. And then so the top, we'll probably have to do one full piece on top. This will probably be a separate piece, and then probably the bottom. And then when we're done, we'll actually cut one of them out for a door, which the door will probably be the size of what this post is. Now these posts were already cut when I got it, so they was missing. I've got the front doors for the Buick, but I don't have the back doors. If I had the back doors, I might could work from the front part of the door forward to that body line, but it may not would look good, so I don't mind doing it like this. You know, I need to get back to doing a little bit of sheet metal work one of these days anyway. Still was debating on whether to do this as a gooseneck. The original plan was to use the hood of the Buick and actually come off and use the top section of the hood as the tongue, and you know, build a frame inside of it, of course, but with the, you know, with the hitch on it for a gooseneck ball. But I didn't like it. I drew it up, you know, 3 or 4 different ways, and I did not like the way that it was turning out, so I decided against it. And so we'll see. I mean, you know, I thought if I was going to do a gooseneck, you know, I could keep it pretty low, you know, instead of going way up, but I could actually bring the frame forward, but then come up and then come out of the cab below the window right here with the pieces. So, and this, like I said, would be pulled probably behind like my 57 or something like that, the International. But anyway, you get the idea, hopefully, of what I was seeing. I was driving past this thing in the driveway every day. I had the truck cab in one driveway, and the Buick was out front and, you know, close to the other driveway. So I keep driving by it, and I keep thinking about, you know, putting them together and whether it would work right or not. I did the measurements, and then it was so close. And you know, like I said, when you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something, you know, you got to do something to sort of put that fire out. So that's what we've done. We've got it as far as I care to get it right now. So it's going to be a while before you see any videos on this thing, but you've got the idea of what, hopefully, of what I had planned. And you know, the only bad thing kind of sucks because the axle's back so far, but to keep the look, you about have to do it. But you know, if you use it as a gooseneck, that really wouldn't matter that much, because that would take off all your tongue weight. But anyway, we'll see what happens. You know, I've got plenty of time to think about it between now and whenever I, you know, jump back on it. Like I said, it could be body worked with no issue, and probably made into a pretty nice little camper, I guess. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.